Hey, fearless friends, it's Amy Schmidt, and welcome to another episode of the Fearlessly Facing 50 and Beyond podcast. And we're in this really cool series called the F Word series. So we're fearlessly facing those F words like our future, our families, and our fitness. And today's guest, they got it all going on. So a great guest with me today, Michelle Cuff. Now, I have not met her in person, but a lot of my friends have talked about her and her amazing just reframing of aging. So we're going to talk to the author, Michelle Cuff, about health revival, how to be happy, healthy, human, and live to 100. So stay tuned for another episode of Fearlessly Facing 50. Well, you know what? I am excited about this conversation. And I use excited all the time. And I do kind of live my life through this lens of excitement because I love learning about things. So today's guest, Michelle Cuff, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Amy, for having me. And I love that you always seem excited.
It's like my word.
You do.
I don't know. I've got grown kids and they're always like, Mom, you're like always excited. I'm like, yeah, because every day is such a blessing. And every day it's like you can learn something new. You can do something really cool.
Right.
So
and we've raised our kids, so we're
Amen.
excited.
Amen. We have raised our kids. Michelle, you are not only a mother of 3 grown daughters, but you're also a grandma or a glamma.
Yes,
I think I should call
I have
you.
three grandchildren, so I'm
Isn't that
just
awesome?
Oh my gosh, yeah, they're the loves of my life.
Yeah, isn't that? I just look at that and I'm like, wow, I'm going to be there someday, and that's pretty cool.
Yes, it is.
So I talked about your book a little bit in the intro, and I got to read it. So thank you for sending me one. Health Revival:
Oh,
How to
good.
Be Happy, Healthy, Human, and Live to 100. I think going forward with all of this, we lived in Europe for a long time, so I feel like I was healthier in Europe because our diet was different. And Michelle, I got to be
Yes.
honest with you. I ate bread. I drank wine. I did all the European stuff you do when you live there. But then you
Yes,
move back, and we are so unhealthy right now. Our country is
we
terrible.
are. And I've been to Italy, and I was there for almost 2 weeks, and I agree with you 100%. I have a lot of gut issues and dairy issues and wheat issues. I did not have that there.
Isn't that crazy? We were just
hmm
there too, visiting. One of our kids is over there in London right now, and we were eating like rock stars. And it's vacation, so we're having fun and we're having wine, and we both got
hmm
home, and I think Tim and I were both a little hesitant to get on the scale, and we got on the scale, and we're like, okay, like we didn't gain any weight. This is
Right.
crazy.
And there's a lot of walking that goes on there
Yeah.
too, I think. So
Yeah.
their fitness is which this is a great little intro because I want people to know who they really are, especially women. We're talking about women, but men and women. We are human animals, okay?
Right.
And we were designed to do certain things and to live outside. So our DNA still thinks we're outside right now. It has not adapted to the fact that we're now inside all day, okay? So in Italy, they're walking more. Our bodies were meant to move a lot.
Right.
And you can see where that has gone in this day and age.
Yep, exactly. That's so true. So today we're going to be talking to Michelle about fearlessly facing not only fitness, but food and also our faith and just kind of this whole life where we are right now,
Yes.
these F words that we face. Let's talk about stress because that's one of the big, you kind of break your book down in different chapters and different facets of our life, and we talk about stress management. Walk me through that. How can we get better at reducing some of the stress in our lives?
Yes, and stress, if you look it up, you'll get anywhere from 70 to 90% of every doctor visit right now in the US is traced back to stress. So that is how prevalent stress is. And stress was only meant to be turned on for seconds or minutes. The average American sits in stress right now for 8 hours a day. So think about that. It's supposed to be a quick response to, like, if someone almost hits you, or if a dog comes running at you, but then it goes away. But now we're sitting in that stress response for 8 hours a day, and that is why stress is the pillar, or where it all starts is that. So
Really?
how, with our crazy lives and everything, and fitness is good because that's one great way to manage stress. we've got to find a way to manage this or our health is just going to go off the wayside. When was the last time you stress ate broccoli, Amy? I mean,
Stress ate broccoli. Yeah, that was that. Yeah, I
yeah,
don't know if I've ever done that, Michelle.
yeah. We don't stress eat broccoli. We stress eat with ice cream and cookies and, all that kind of stuff. So you can
Exactly.
see where stress goes. I think, one of the big things that helps me with stress is meditation. And for me, that's actually faith and I pray. So I'll, go on a walk and pray, or I'll just sit in the quiet and talk to God. But also, meditation can be anything that you lose track of time,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So anything, it could be golfing, it could be fishing, it could be on a spin bike at the gym and you lose track of time, right? So it's just important to get about 20 minutes of that a day to where you're lose track of time and you feel some sort of peace.
Yeah.
So that's very important.
I love that you said that with an actual minutes there. Michelle, it's 20 minutes of time. And
Right.
when we look at our day, we all have 24 hours. Yesterday I talked about the fact that because we've been fearlessly facing friendships lately a lot on this show and a lot of things I've been doing. And, that was 8 minutes a day. Like, do you have 8 minutes? If 8
Right.
minutes is nothing. I mean, and 20
It's
minutes
not.
for our self-care, showing up for ourselves and treating ourselves as a guest of honor, we should be able to carve out 20 minutes.
We should, and it doesn't have to be 20 altogether. It can be 10 in the morning, 10 at night. And people ask me, what's the best time of day to meditate? Well, do you want to, maybe you're coming home from work and you want to show up peaceful for your family, do it right, sit in the driveway before you come in the house. And,
Yes.
just whatever the best time for you is. A lot of times people will find it first thing in the morning in their quiet time.
Yeah.
But just,
You
it's
custom
it's a
tailor it.
non-negotiable.
It's a
People need to,
non-negotiable. I love
it
that.
is.
So for everybody
Yes.
listening and watching right now, Michelle's first challenge to us is 20 minutes. And like she said, doesn't have to be 20 minutes all at once, but let's
Right.
challenge ourselves and let's reach back out. You can reach me. I'll put it in the notes here in the episode notes, and you can reach out to Michelle, but we're going to find out how many of you are able to create 20 minutes of space in your life in the next 6 weeks. That's the first challenge. And we should be able to create 20 minutes for us. So I love that.
Yes.
All right, let's move on to sleep. And I talked to Michelle a little bit before we got started today with these statistics. 70%, 70% more accident prone if you don't get a good night's sleep. 69% higher risk for cancer. And you're reducing your lifespan by 4.7 years. Those are statistics from a doctor that specializes in sleep. But I mean, those statistics are shocking. And you said, your mom wasn't a good sleeper. My mom was a terrible sleeper. I can remember her, Michelle, getting up in the middle of the night when I was in high school, and I could hear her tiptoeing around. Like, I remember
Right.
her getting up, but then again, that probably translates to me because I'm a terrible sleeper.
Right. And sleep, we've got to find ways to sleep better. And, for our women here listening that are around 50 or beyond 50, hormones can play a big part in that,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
But it's along with fitness, so activity. So we need to be sleeping 7 to 9 hours every single night. And the 7 to 9 hour window can depend on your activity level that day and your vitamin D levels. We need sunshine because sunshine is serotonin that then turns into melatonin. So there's so many easy ways to just kind of boost those things to help us sleep better. But of course, back to stress, if we're stressed out and we're got a million things going through our head, we don't sleep well. So yes, we've got to really, especially as women need a little more sleep than men. That is a known fact. Maybe it's because we talk so much, Amy. I don't know what goes on with this. But sleep is also a non-negotiable. And like you said, the studies show anything less than 7 hours sleep a night starts to go into increasing or decreasing, your lifespan and your health span.
Wow.
So don't,
sleep.
yeah,
Sleep.
don't see it as, oh, I need sleep. What's wrong with me? If you sleep 9 hours, I say good for you. I think that is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have a routine, a sleep routine? Because I know that's so important.
I do. And listen, my kids are grown now. So I don't have those kinds of stress. When I was younger, it was tough, but one of the things that I do that works for me is, so about a couple of hours, I do eat 2 hours before bedtime. That's important because you want to digest your food. I'd make sure all the lights are kind of off in the house. And sometimes I'll take a tub bath with warm water with magnesium, because magnesium is your sleep mineral. And putting the magnesium salt in your bath, it goes right into your bloodstream. It will make you sleepy. So that really seems to work for me. And going from that hot tub to then your nice cold bed helps, and get your house as cold as possible. Okay,
I hope
because
my husband's listening to
that will
that.
help you sleep.
That is Tim Schmidt right now. You should be listening, because I always tell him
Yes.
that. I always have a fan on. I always sleep with the window open. Well, not so much in Florida,
Yep.
but I mean, I always want it cooler, and he's
Right.
always complaining about that. But that's really important. Those are some great tips right there. And I think
Yes, and cold and dark is how we evolved outside. When it got dark outside, we went to bed because the bears came out. Okay, and this sounds funny, but it's true. We didn't stay up. We got into our safe space, went to bed, and then as soon as the sun came up, we got up because we had things to do, right?
right.
So, evolution kind of plays a part in that, but cold and dark really helps your sleep as well.
Love that. I also think, I always say we wear the badge of busyness like a badge of honor, which we shouldn't do. And you just said,
Right.
don't wear the badge of, sleep deprivation as a badge of courage. We shouldn't do that.
Exactly.
No. And
Right.
that whole saying,
I'm
sleep when
Cuban, and
yeah.
I'm of Cuban descent, so I was raised like that. Like, the more you do, the better. The more you do, the
Yes.
better. And I have had to rewire my brain now from that.
So good challenge here around sleep is we need 7 to 9 hours of sleep a day. So that's our second challenge: reduce our stress and increase our sleep, which is major. All right, let's talk hydration. I got to be honest with you. Hydration is huge, and I get that. But, I referenced the fact that we were just in Europe, and we had 2 of our kids with us. And my daughter, who has one of those Stanley Cups, she's like, Mom, nobody's like walking around with a Stanley Cup. Nobody's got them sitting on the table right in front of you. So are we like crazy with this hydration thing? How important is it? How much should we have a day? And how much is too much?
We're not crazy. In fact, Americans don't drink enough water. What is the only thing we were given on this planet by God or nature, whatever you believe in, is water. Our bodies are 70% water. The earth is 70% water. I see a correlation. And we need water. So lots of things will improve if we're hydrated. And so by pounds, it's like men and women, we have a thing, but longevity experts have come to the conclusion that a good number for every human is 100 ounces of water a day. The problem in America and in the country is that we now have all these other drinks. We're drinking coffee, we're drinking energy drinks, we're drinking wine and all these things. Those are all dehydrating, right? And then we skip the water. So if we are walking around chronically dehydrated, it will show up as you're tired, you're puffy and swollen, your joints ache. So a lot of times people will say, "Oh, my knees are," you're just dehydrated. And we hold on to weight when we're not drinking water. So I've had clients of mine, just from doing the 100-ounce water challenge for 30 days, they've lost 4 and 5 pounds.
Wow.
Which sounds crazy, but you're flushing out toxins and all these things. And yes, you will pee, but we got to get over that at first. But water is important. I mean, you could drink too much water, but I don't think that most people have that problem.
Right, exactly. So 100 ounces should be a good goal for everybody.
Yes. So
Okay.
that's three 1-liter bottles.
Okay. Well, that should be something very attainable for everybody.
Yes.
It was funny because at my class, a Pilates class I go to, there was a gentleman, a couple of reformers over from me the other day, and I was asking him about his trip, and he said, Amy, you will not believe this. And I said, what? And he goes, you know how healthy I am. I said, yeah, I definitely know how healthy you are. He's just a picture of health. He was on a cruise, and he forgot to drink water. He said, I was having so much fun and doing so many things, and, probably drinking a little more than I should have, alcohol and fun stuff, that he said, I fainted. And I fainted because I was dehydrated. And he said, I can't believe it. Like, I didn't have enough water. And here's somebody that is younger than me. And, he's really fit. Like, you would think he wouldn't forget about that. So it's a simple thing that we need to remind ourselves to have water.
Right. And just, add a little extra water around your coffee, around, a nice martini, if that's what you're going to have a water before and after. So just make sure I'm not saying don't drink the other stuff, but just don't count it towards your 100 ounces.
Well, what do you think about these electrolyte type things, these minerals you can get for your water, these packets of stuff you put in your water. On a side note, my husband is on medication for heart, and one of the medications has a side effect of dehydration. Now, he needs
Right.
to put some electrolytes in his water. He knows because of the way his heart is pumping that he knows when he's had too much water. He self-regulates. But he does have to put some of those electrolytes in. Now, are those things we should be doing? I mean, should we be going to Whole Foods or Trader Joe's or Kroger or wherever you go
I
in
mean,
this country and get
you just,
stuff?
it's, I'm not saying don't do it, but I would just say, like, I'll see people drinking Gatorades and stuff, and I'm thinking, well, okay, that's meant for like football athletes that are working out in 100-degree weather.
Yes.
Some of
Right.
that stuff has a lot of sodium, which sodium isn't bad for you, but some of it'll have added sugars. There's nothing wrong with that stuff, but just be careful and read the labels and just make sure that you're not just drinking like sugar,
Yeah, exactly.
But
Okay, good point.
most of us don't need that stuff.
Yep.
And some of it is just to flavor your water. And I get that. But again, if there's things in there that are dehydrating you, it could be doing the opposite. So,
Okay, interesting. So just a little break here. Health Revival, How to Be a Happy, Healthy Human and Live to 100. I have Michelle Cuff with me today, and we've gone through 3 things already. We've gone through stress, how to reduce stress, easy things to do, hydration, and we've gone through sleep. Let's talk about nutrition.
okay. Yeah, that's the food.
The food.
Another F word. Food.
Fearlessly facing food. Let's be honest. I mean,
and this subject is so difficult, and it's just, my gosh, we could spend hours on this.
Yeah.
The problem is there's too much information these days, and everybody's on some fad diet. Everybody's doing keto or carnivore or vegan, and everybody is like, what the heck do I do? So in my book, I break down what we were given on this planet. We were given 2 categories only, and those were plants and animals. Okay. So my rule is, as human animals, we suck at counting macros. We suck at counting calories. We weren't meant to do that. We're the only animal species that sits around and weighs our food and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You're going to get sick of that. You're not going to last doing that. So what you do is, if it didn't come from out there, don't eat it, because God put stops in all of our food. Okay. And what I mean by that is, you can't eat too much steak before you're full. You can't eat pounds of broccoli, you'll be in the bathroom. You can't eat too much asparagus or those kinds of things. So there's already stops in our food. We just have to try to make good decisions with the plants and animals. And in my book, I've listed what those are.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And of course we're human. Of course we should have fun. Of course, we should have times where we celebrate and have cake. But let's make that kind of like the exception over here, and we stick to the other stuff like 80% of the time. And then just make sure you're careful what you're cooking with, because that's another big issue, is the seed oils. And, like in abroad, they don't have that stuff. And that's one big reason why we're all so sick right now, is because they're cooking everything in seed oils.
Right.
And what I mean is like corn oil, canola oil, vegetable oil. We need avocado oil, we need coconut oil, and olive oil. Those are the 3 things we're going to use. And that will make a big difference in your health.
Yeah. And those are simple. I love, in the middle of your book, like between pages about, 94, 95, all of these. I, of course, went to page 95 because I'm going to make this one. It's the brain boosting blueberry milkshake. This sounds amazing. Right. It's got protein in it. You've got your almond or peanut butter. You've got your almond milk or oat milk, vanilla protein powder. This is very simple. So
yeah, and so I put 30 of my favorite recipes in there as a bonus of how I cook, or just some good stuff. And shakes are an easy way to get protein in, which is important, and they're quick and easy. So I put some of those in there. And and blueberries are a superfood. I mean, of all the fruit, I'd say blueberries is the king. So it's just a really good, healthy shake.
All right, I'm going to ask you something, because I know that listeners and viewers right now, there's a lot of us out there, myself included, that gets intimidated and questions their whole, they're like, all right, I'm eating healthy. This is my calendar. New month. April's in another week. New month. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to do all this. And then something happens and they go off the rails. Right. You know what? Nobody's perfect. You're not perfect. No. Nobody's perfect. We're all trying our best. So let's walk through, if there's somebody listening that's going to start their health journey, they're going to pick up your book and they're going to say, I'm going to start. before they even get the book, what can they do at the grocery store today when they go to get 2 healthy meals? What should they be looking for?
I would say, of course, we hear this all the time, stick to the perimeter.
Oh, I've
I
heard
would
that. Okay, so there's truth to that. Okay.
I would focus on organic vegetables and grass-fed beef and wild-caught fish. So those are the things that I would focus on. And of course, the fruits are in the produce area too. But I would just, so when you go to a restaurant and you're ordering food, what is the most expensive thing on the menu, right? You're going to have a steak, you're going to have wild caught salmon's the best. So some kind of fish and then vegetables. So that's what I would suggest that people do. And that's how I eat most of the time
Perfect.
is from those two groups. And that's my plate. I've got, a piece of steak here. And then like last night I had a bunch of broccoli and Brussels sprouts that filled my plate. And I was full and I felt so good after I was done. I never had a sugar spike or anything. Stay away from sugar. That's the
Oh, I
problem.
know. It's my nemesis. I'm telling you.
But
It's the S
but it's
word,
so
fearlessly
good.
facing sugar. Yeah, not enough, but an S. I know. And, I think a part of that is how I was raised. All 5 of us, there were 5 of us in our family, and I think we all have a sweet tooth because my mom
Yes.
served us dessert every night. We were a dessert family, from lemon meringue
Oh,
pie to, you remember those huge, big gallon
oh,
things of
yes.
ice cream with the metal. It like had a metal handle. We went through that
I
thing
don't
in a
know. I
week.
don't know how I'm alive right now.
Me too. Me too. We went through that like crazy. My dad would slice a banana. He'd open up that jar of Hershey's chocolate sauce. You could hear the metal
I had
coming
it
off
all.
of it and pour it on. That's how we ate every night. So
Yep.
sugar for me is a big deal. So I'm with you, anybody that's listening out there that has a challenge with that. But Michelle, those are good, really good tips because we can go to the perimeter, we can walk around, let's talk about fish for a minute because this does confuse me. And then I want to go to the fitness aspect, but salmon. Salmon is confusing to me. Like I'll go to Whole Foods and it's wild something something and it's $12.99, or this one's $24.99 a pound, or this one's on special for $7.99. Do you buy the cheapest? Do you only buy wild? Let's
No,
walk through that.
the farm raised salmon is just terrible.
Good to know.
And
See?
then and farm raised salmon isn't even orange. They put like dyes in there to turn it orange. Wild caught. If you can't get wild caught, I just wouldn't eat it because the other ones you'll get parasites and things like that. You want, especially with salmon, when you go to a restaurant, almost all of it is farm raised,
Mm,
and they feed those fish gross things. You'll have to look that up. But
wow. That is good to know.
if it's cheap at the store, you can pretty much bet it's farm raised.
Okay.
And I hate to say this, but go by price. You'll see the bright orange packaging, you'll know that that's the wild caught and it's going to cost more, but I think we're worth it.
I would
Everything we
agree.
put in our bodies is so important.
Thank you for
Don't
that.
be
That was
cheap.
a little
Don't be cheap on yourself.
exactly. That was a little sideline, a little tip for Amy.
Right.
So thank you. Let's talk about fitness for a minute because, you look fabulous. Like you said, you've got 3 grown daughters. You're a grandma. We're going through this phase of life with menopause. I'm in it. And it's really hard. And I know there's a lot of women listening or watching right now that are saying, I've tried to go to a gym. I've tried to sign up for a class and I just get intimidated. I'll share my story around it. And I did a reel on it years ago, trying to follow my husband into a hotel gym because he was traveling 3 or 4 nights a week. And I went with him on a trip. And sure enough, he's going in the gym. And the minute I'd walk in there, I'd be like, oh man, I don't even know how to turn the treadmill on, and then
I
to try and
know.
figure out your headphones and then try to get a TV station on. And then I'm like, oh, screw it. I don't even know. And I walk out because I get intimidated. So I think a lot of people. So walk us through how we can overcome that fear.
I know. And I'm in the gym almost every day and I see it play out I'll see the guys come in and they bring their girlfriends and the girls just look lost. I would say that if you are starting a health journey at the gym, these big box gyms can be very intimidating, but I promise you that nobody cares. Nobody there is judging you. In fact, I think most people are encouraging. And I would say either hire someone like a trainer or join those classes. I taught fitness classes for over 20 years and I loved it. And seem to help people find, you make friends there. And there's always people in there that are novices like you are, but you've just got to get your head wrapped around the fact that being physically fit is so important for our overall life and for longevity. You've got, and I hate to just sound like this, but you got to get over it. You've just got to. If you have that attitude and you're just going to quit because you might feel a little intimidated, you're only hurting yourself. Because I believe people at the gym are willing to help. Like I'll see someone struggling, like especially women, I'll go over there and say, "Do you mind if I just give you a tip?" And I'll help them out, and they're so happy, right? You can also, in my book, I kind of break down how to build a home gym. So if you're someone that just doesn't want to go to the gym yet, there's so much easy stuff you can buy on Amazon, and then you got your phone that has YouTube and workout videos and things like that. Find a friend. It's always good to find a gym buddy, especially women who can go together. I've always had gym buddy train with my friends, and it always works. So you just got to try to find ways around that,
Yeah.
and get some self-confidence.
Exactly. An accountability partner around fitness and around all of that is
Yes.
so important. Michelle, I want to
Yes.
ask you, when did your passion and purpose really align? Because I think that's so important for people listening to know, because it doesn't have to happen at, there's no deadline on that. Your passion and purpose
No.
all of a sudden can intersect when you're in your 60s and you're like, have this aha moment of this is what I want to do. When did that happen for you?
So after my third daughter was born and I quit working and I was a stay-at-home mom, I joined the gym just mainly so I could get an hour break, because the gyms will have that daycare center. I don't know, but they had a sign-up sheet one day and they were looking for spinning instructors. Now, I think I'd only taken one spin class in my life. And I stood there and looked at that paper, and I don't know, I have faith, so I don't know if it was the Holy Spirit speaking to me, but I heard that's what you should do. And I'm thinking, even to myself, but I felt this calling, right? And that started me on this journey of fitness instructor. And I think, well, to get me to the point I'm at today, it has taken many different aha moments and many years. But I think sometimes we hear that voice, but we just turn it off because we think, I can't do that, right? And I know that I come across to people as I'm so confident, and you and I have been on the same show here in Tampa. I am scared every time.
Yeah.
And I was scared for years every time I would teach a class. And you're always going to have the naysayers. You're always going to have people that talk you out of it. Even your own family will try to talk you out of things. I think you just have to connect with that inner voice. And if something's pulling you and telling you to do something, you've got to try it. I was scared to write this book. I didn't know if I
Right.
could do something like that, and that came later on, of course. And I wish I could give you this definite answer, but I think that there's this moment in time where something is presented to you. You think it seems like something you could do, and you're either going to say, I'm going to do it, or you're going to say, I can't do it. Don't listen to that negative voice.
Exactly. And you know what? That inner critic is so loud. I say it so often. It's
Oh,
so noisy, but that inner cheerleader has just got to overtake it, and it's got to be loud and proud and do it. And there's no judgment. There's no timeline. It's not like if you want to write a book, great, but if you just want to journal and that's something that's really empowering to
right.
you, do it. And I think that's where so many people get stuck. They just think there's too many judgers. There's too many people thinking that they can't do it. And, self-doubt and all of those limiting beliefs come in. So I love that,
Right.
we got to be fearless. That's what we have to do. And I'm sure you
Right.
say this with your kids and grandkids too. What's the worst case scenario, right? What's the worst case?
Right.
I sell
We're going
one
to
copy
fail.
in my book. All right. Well, one person
Right.
benefited from it. That's better than zero,
Absolutely.
you know?
And trust me, I have failed at things many times, and I've cried about things, and I've been like, gosh, I just came across as stupid today. I don't know we have to go through those things to grow. And I think the great thing about being around 50 years old is we do kind of tend to get like this, not that I don't care attitude, but a little bit of confidence comes with the years.
We
So,
do. We
you
do.
know,
Yep.
um, I would say age is not a factor in anything either. especially for women, keep trying. If there's something that's been nagging at you for years, do it. Try it.
I love it. And I want to give a little shout out to Maggie Rodriguez and Gail Gallardo, because they are just such incredible women. And,
Oh
Maggie
my
gets up at
gosh.
5:30 in the morning and exercises every day before she's on. And I know Gail's fitness
Oh
journey is
yes.
so amazing. And,
I know.
you find those people in your life. I always call them unexpected treasures. Those are two women in my
Yes.
life that came in unexpectedly.
Same
And
with me.
they add value in such a way
They do.
that, is incredible. So,
I know, and Gail has become my friend. We go to church together, and Maggie, we laugh because we're both Cuban. So she gets we always laugh because she says she has to really try not to talk with her hands.
yeah, yeah.
And the same with me. It's like I have to tie my hands behind my back because this is me all the time.
I love it.
But they are amazing women, and I just love women at this age too. It's and I listen to your friends' podcast.
Yeah.
And we may not have a ton of friends, but we have, quality friends, and we can continue to make friends in our older age.
Exactly. And I think that comes to a point in this show today where we have to realize that, when you admire somebody, reach out to them, encourage them, acknowledge them. And Michelle, you certainly do that with everything that you do. Before we leave today, and we're certainly running out of time, I highly recommend your book. What I love about it is it's very no nonsense. It's an easy read, but at the end of the day, it's so practical, and it's things that we can incorporate right away. So I love that. So
thank you.
Michelle, before we leave today, I'm going to ask you that question that I ask on every episode. And that is, Michelle, if you're sitting on the couch and you look over and there you are at 30, what advice would you give her?
Oh, wow. 30. I already had 3 kids. I would say, gosh, just don't be so hard on yourself. You don't have to figure everything out, right then and there. I would tell her to just, it's okay to have bad days. It's okay to have good days. It's okay to fail, but just don't give up on your dreams, and just, you don't have to have it all figured out. I at 30 years old, boy, I would say maybe I was so naive. It's tough to talk to that person because I feel like I can't connect to her anymore because she was so long ago for me.
Yeah.
But I would just tell her, I didn't have faith back then. I grew up Catholic. I would say find some faith, believe in something more than yourself, look at the big picture of just the beauty of life. Stop and just take some time for yourself. I think that's what I would tell her.
Treat yourself as a guest of honor. Michelle, I love that.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being on. We could talk about so many more things, but you gave us so many great tangible tips around, managing our stress, sleep, hydration, nutrition, all of those things that are little things we can reframe in our everyday life and become our inner cheerleader again and silence.
And I want to just touch real quick before we leave back to the fitness. For women our age, we really need to focus on weight training more than just endless cardio. So we want to start to do weights because our hormones are depleted, and that's going to build our hormones back up. So don't be afraid to hit the weights, and don't be afraid to lift heavy.
I love that. Michelle, I got to have you back. You got to come in studio and we got to do a little something because we didn't even get into menopause. But Michelle Cuff, thank you so much for being my guest today, and look forward to seeing you.
Amy.
All right.
Okay. Thank you so much.